Hi, guys. Welcome to episode 3 of season 2 of It's Not You, It's Me. Today, we're joined by someone that I personally really look up to, and I'm so excited that she said yes to come on today because a lot of my girls would benefit immensely by the advice that this sister has to give. So, I'm going to pass it over to Naeema to introduce herself, and we're going to get it kicked off today. Hi, Naeema. How are you?
Hello, Assalamu alaikum.
Wa
Firstly,
alaikum
I want to
salam.
say thank you so much for having me. Thank you for having me on your podcast. I'm so excited to be here because I'm a huge fan of your work. I'm a huge fan of your message and your mission. You are inspiring so many people. I love how powerful your voice is. From the moment I watch one of your videos, I'm like, this girl is going places. Her voice is powerful, her message is powerful. So I'm honored to be here. But a little bit about me. I'm Naeema. I am a marriage coach. I work with women who are married that want to stay married, and I help them enhance their relationship by bringing back polarity, that masculine, feminine energy balance, which we have lost. We have lost for so many years, for so many generations. And we'll talk a little bit more about what that actually means today. I help them through their communication, their healing, their emotional regulation, and overall their confidence, because we all know that confidence is beautiful, it's attractive, and we need more of that. No more playing small in our marriages, no more being that doormat, and more of bringing those relationships that feel so good and the attraction is there and the peace is there too.
Alhamdulillah. Yeah, I absolutely love that. And I think from my previous marriage and the learnings that I've had through then, and then when I bumped into you, I did think to myself, "Oh, this was too late. I could
Never
have
too late. The
saved
timing is
so
all that's
much."
it.
Yeah, but some of the things, some of the advice that you give, and it's very culturally sensitive. And of course, being a Muslim woman, we have slightly different ways of dealing with things and our dynamics. And I just love the way you address those issues. And I wanted to speak to you today because obviously my demographic of ladies that I deal with on a daily basis are dealing with slightly different type of situations.
Mhm.
But what I've come to realize is being feminine and coming into your own, regardless of your environment, actually does end up making your environment better for you.
Absolutely.
And not to say that's not a challenge, everything's a challenge, but you have to pick your hard. Pick your pain. What do you want? Do you want the pain of growing, or do you want the pain of remaining stagnant and in the same situation that you're already in? So I'm going to dive in with quite a heavy question because I
Mm,
know my girls want to know it straight away.
Bring it on.
How do you prioritize femininity in abusive and coercive environments? Now,
Okay.
that might be parents, husband, whatever it might be.
I think this is a brilliant question because, and this is what I love about you. You just go straight into it. You go into the heavy stuff. There's no baby steps with you. And
Life is short. Life is short.
oh, yeah, and especially with the women that you're working with, this is a question because first of all, you're exposed to all this content online and more so in I don't know if it's just me seeing it, but I love to see that there's more people preaching this, there's more people talking about it. But if you're in that relationship where you've got, let's say, an abusive partner, you've got that partner who's manipulative, he's a bit of a psychopath, all right? How are we trying to stay soft and stay like and protect yourself at the same time? And this is the thing that a lot of people need to understand, that being feminine is not about the cutesy stuff that, oh, let me like make him feel good all the time. It's about you. It's about understanding your value. Now, I've worked with women in the past who don't necessarily want to work on making this marriage work, but they're trying to work on themselves whilst they're still in that relationship. And there's two things that happen for a lot of people that I work with. Either number one, they work on being feminine, which is their gracefulness, how they're communicating, not getting sucked in emotionally by these men, so that they have a strong sense of self-worth. So they're not triggered by every single interaction. They know how to hold their ground. They know how to set their boundaries. That is feminine. That's the hard part of being feminine, actually knowing what you're about, having a strong identity of your own, knowing your values. So when you're working on that, and you're still able to be graceful in your approach, which means you're not kicking the front door in, you're not like bitching and moaning and being miserable. then two things will happen. Either number one, best case scenario, he'll match you. You're breaking a cycle, he will start to match you, and you're putting an end to the toxic cycle. You're removing what you've been doing, how you've been adding to the cycle. You're removing that part, he'll match you. And I've actually had a lot of women that have said to me, I wish I've got a screenshot of this DM message, and I'll try bring it up in a bit. But it was along the lines of a woman who said to me that before I came to work with you, I used to say that my husband was a narcissist because that's what I've read online. I'd Googled, the symptoms of a narcissist or how to tell if my spouse is a narcissist, and I was hell bent on saying that he was a narcissist. But actually, when I practiced the communication skills, when I put an end to how I was fueling this cycle, I realized that my husband actually isn't a narcissist. The thing is, you can have a person with narcissistic traits. I probably have a few. You probably have a few. That doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily mean you're a narcissist. And she, mashallah, she messages me every other month telling me about all of the wonderful things that she's doing with her husband, how the communication feels so lighthearted, and how she's obviously it's a work in progress, but her husband is a reflection of her growth. Now, the second type of relationship is the woman who very much knows that she needs to take responsibility, but as she ups her self-worth, she realizes that this situation is not for her. And she needs to be able to do this work. She needs to do what she needs to do for herself and see her self-worth, because it's very difficult to leave a situation when your self-worth is in the gutter. It's literally in the trash. When you don't value yourself, when you don't and you're there, it's like a toxic attachment that you have to this person, and you will sugarcoat it and put layers over it, like I'm just doing sabr, I'm trying to make my marriage work, I'm so honorable, like this sort of like martyr identity that you have. That's not feminine. It's not. It's this feminine fake identity that you've got, but it's fueled with shame and guilt, and you try and make it into this religious thing that, oh, Allah will be so pleased with me. Allah doesn't want you to struggle, girl. Like, Allah, yes, we do patience, but for the right things, not to play small and to become like a shell of what you once were. So in that kind of relationship, no matter what, because it's very hard to see what kind of relationship you're in at that time, you still do need to do that work, because once you're at the top, you'll be able to decide, is this for me or if this isn't for me? Because walking away, if that is what's meant to happen, should not feel like you're like giving up your soul. It shouldn't feel like you're looking back and umming and ahhing on your decision. You will know as you value yourself, you become more aligned with what is meant for you. And that's what working on your feminine energy will look like in that relationship, because again, you win either way.
Yeah, wonderful, wonderful. And I liked what you said about having the self-esteem and the confidence to do this. Because one thing that I come across quite regularly is, unfortunately, in the South Asian community, women are not raised to have high self-esteem. They are already raised in that slavery mindset where they're told being a martyr is going to have you a first-class ticket to Jannah.
Mm,
But actually, that's a distorted truth. Because yes, if you are martyr, you'll go straight to Jannah. But what are you sacrificing yourself for? That's a martyrdom for Allah, not martyrdom for another human being. And they
absolutely.
genuinely, a lot of women genuinely believe that my sacrifice makes me a better woman. All
Mm.
the while, they're physically, mentally, and emotionally deteriorating. And once they've deteriorated, they snap out of it. And then, a lot of them have reached out to me and they're in their mid 50s at this point, wondering, how do I get my life and my femininity back? And I think
Yeah,
it's really important for women to understand that working on your self-esteem is probably the single most important thing you will ever do in your life.
absolutely. I think you mentioned a really, really important point here. And do you know how I think we spoke about this in our conversation as well yesterday about the slavery mindset, and we see it a lot around us. And the way I say it and the way I look at it is, if we root everything back into our purpose in this world and what Allah wants for us, we look at that and then we work backwards. Allah wants us to be in this world. We have relationships. Why do I love relationships? because relationships are there to enhance who you are. We enhance each other. We bring barakah into our life so that we can do the good that we need to do in this world and become closer to Allah. Now, I'm a big believer in serving people. Now, there's the slavery part of it and the serving people. I think it's so important to live in a way that you're serving people. You're serving your family, you're serving your children, your husband, your community, and obviously you're going to have your priorities. But if I'm thinking about myself, I need to serve my family. They have rights over me. I'm a giver. I'm a giver, and I had to work through a lot when it came to people pleasing and understanding
Yeah.
what my intentions were. That's a whole messy situation we could put another. There was a
That's
lot of
another
people.
podcast.
That could be episode 10. There's a lot of work that had to, but in my nature, I'm a giver because I know deep down I feel most fulfilled when I see those around me winning. So if we're working backwards, let's put a pin in this for a moment. If we're working backwards, we need to be serving, we need to be giving. And that's how Islam is. We give to each other, we help each other, we support each other to make our ummah stronger, to benefit the ummah, because we need a strong ummah to become closer to Allah and to live with purpose in this world. How are we going to give if we're depleted?
Mm.
So now moving back, like all the way back to the first step, how am I going to give to my husband? How am I going to be his peace? How am I going to be his comfort if I don't even like myself? How can I be his peace and how can I be his comfort if inside me I'm chaos?
Mm.
How can I be that nurturing mother and play that role if me myself, I can't even nurture my body? I can't even nurture this body that Allah has blessed me with. And then I'm trying to nurture another human being. How am I going
Mm.
to serve my community if I resent me? And this is where like a lot of people get they mistake it, because in the West it's all about me, selfish, me, like pour into me, and then what? Like I love how Islam is all about giving, pour into me so I pour into them
Mm.
so that they can pour into others. It's like a sadaqah, it's a charity. I don't mind being tired. I'm happy at the end of the day. I swear by Allah, I love it when my body is tired. I do believe in resting. I believe in resting, but do you know that feeling of, oh, at the end of the day, I've poured, I've given, but not to the point of depletion.
Yes.
The difference. Not to the point of I've given and I'm depleted. And because what that leads into is resentment. And the last thing, and the thing I say to women is the last thing you want to do is give from a place of depletion and resentment, because you will be doing something very damaging and you will be adding and fueling shame and resentment as you serve people, as you give to the people around you. You'll be fueling that into the system. Imagine like you're creating the system, you'll be fueling that shame and resentment into the system, and then the whole cycle is like trying to go forward with resentment and shame and guilt, and then your children grow up thinking they need to sacrifice themselves, and it gets really messy.
Yeah.
So this is why I'm a big believer of giving from a place of feeling good, having your intentions in the right place.
Yeah. Because when you allow resentment and that feeling of inadequacy to bubble over, women have a very special ability to become malicious.
Mm-hmm.
When you crush yourself to that point, and this is why, I get so many women saying to me, what about my mother-in-law? What about my mother-in-law? And this describes this scenario. She
Mm-hmm.
gave completely. I loved how you mentioned Islam, because everything in our deen is to do with balance.
Mm-hmm.
Everything.
Absolutely. It's very.
Even when you are giving, you have to give with a balanced and appropriate mindset.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we don't have that. So she was giving without balance. She was basically a slave in her own home. She allowed the resentment to take over her soul. And now she is a grandmother or a mother or a mother-in-law that is now making everybody's else life hell,
Exactly.
because she wants the control she never had. She
Mm.
wants the appreciation she never had, and she will get it any way she finds fit. And that's when the malicious intent and that grows, that negative energy grows inside you as a woman when you do not prioritize yourself.
Mm.
And we're told in a South Asian culture, like, it's your job to put everybody else in front of you. Actually, that's female nature. We can't help but do that, right? So we're already going to do that. Why not do it in an environment where you're actually continuously being fueled so you can give this energy out?
Yeah. It's within us. I do feel like, especially a woman, when it comes to, yeah, all of her relations, we are givers in we're receptive. Within our nature, we're very receptive. But it's like when we see something that we love, then we can't help but give. That's that nurture. It's actually a very nurturing, beautiful thing to do. But if it's not done properly, it will become mothering, where you're this is like a whole different topic I go through with my ladies in my programs, but it becomes mothering and it comes with this element of control and it can become
Mm,
very toxic. So yes, we're givers, and it has to come from that place of being fueled, like you said.
yeah. We need to learn as women how to give and who to give what. Because we just go in 100% with everything, colleagues, children, husband, mum and dad, and then we're giving 100 in 700 different places, and we're wondering why we're so exhausted.
Yeah. I'll show you this one thing that I say to people is that you're like, you need to have, sorry, I don't even know if you can see this,
Yeah,
but
yeah, I can see it.
like you need to understand like who's that you have your circles. You don't need to give 100% to everyone. People can get demoted to the outer circle.
Yeah, yeah,
People can get promoted to this circle. Like this circle here is my children, my husband, my people. You know, this is my friends, my close people, my siblings, my sisters, my brother. Then there's people that, my community, that I love them, but they're not right now because my priorities
yeah,
are different. And I
yeah.
give a certain amount, and you need to understand who's in which circle, and you need to be a bit strategic about it as well. This is where your masculine energy comes in. You're balancing it. I need to be strategic about where I'm nurturing.
Yes. And we've grown up with a lot of TV and movies where the mother gets up, she's getting everyone ready, then she's baking cookies for the sale, and then she's going to the school to help clean it so then they can put the sale on, and then she
Oh,
runs back home and collects the cookies. So we've been surrounded by a lot, not only cultural sort of manipulation and coercion, but also the media and the things around us are all trying to pull us and tell us how to be a woman when actually, as Muslim women, we have Allah to tell us that. And Allah has told us that balance is important in your life. I can't come down and implement balance in your life. You need to be intelligent enough to decipher where those balances need to be changed or given more or wherever. It's like I just picture a bunch of taps on the wall. And if everything's running at 100, and then
mm,
you're wondering why there's nothing left for you at the end of the day. It's actually your job and responsibility to ensure that you're hydrated.
yeah,
Then you turn the tap on for everybody else, because otherwise it's empty sawdust taps for everyone.
yeah.
So, my question following on to this is what couple of tips would you give to people to try and break out of this victim mindset?
Okay, so I think the first thing I would definitely say is I created a post on this on my Instagram just yesterday and it came to me because I was sitting, I had a day yesterday, I had a very productive week, and then yesterday I needed rest. I needed a full day of rest, which meant I sat on the sofa, I finished a whole book on my Kindle.
Oh, wow.
You know which book I was reading because we were chatting about that.
I was like, yeah, oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I was reading a book, a fiction. It was a story. It's actually about a woman who helps women in like abusive relationships, and it got a bit dark actually. So I had freaked myself out a bit, but I needed it. I just needed to get lost in a book. I allowed my husband to cook, and I was celebrating at the end of the day. My husband had gone out to do whatever he needed to do. My kids were in bed. I was sitting there in my blanket, and I actually had a moment where I was celebrating this stillness and how I felt okay to rest, and how
Mm,
previously, maybe a couple of years back, that wouldn't have been me. I wouldn't have taken that time. I would have been so worried about everything, what needed to get done. And I've learned that I've healed my relationship with rest. I've healed it
Wow.
because this is the first thing. A lot of women want to take the rest, they can take the rest, but they have a very unhealed relationship with rest because of the shame that has been fueled into them about resting. You need to do XYZ before you are allowed to rest. It doesn't
Mm.
safe to do that because they feel like they're only worthy when they're being productive, and productivity looks different. Productivity is resting and recharging. That's when you can give. And to be able to do that, I felt amazing, and that's how I'm able to keep going. People say, how can you get so much done? How can you do this? How can you do that? Because I rest. Because that rest
Yeah.
is nourishing. You can sit there in your bed, and that rest will have no baraka in it. It will feel like do the opposite of nourishing you because you're sitting there in your head. You're lying there in your head thinking, oh, what are people going to think? What's my mother-in-law going to think if she knows I was resting all day? What is my husband going to do when he comes? I'm going to quickly get up and pretend I was being productive. There's so much shame around rest, and the fact that Allah has made a woman different to a man. You have the monthly cycle, you've got your menstrual cycle, you have to live according to it. If you can, is great. If you can't, I know some people are working, I know some people have their day jobs and it's different, but if you can look at your cycle as well and live and understand it and understand what your body needs, from the nutrition to understanding that it's okay to switch off, telling yourself that it's safe for me to rest. And people will judge you at times. If you have a mother-in-law who doesn't like people resting, you're going to have to build that grit and that, have a bit of a that stoicism of like, say it's okay. She's allowed to say that. She's allowed to not want me resting. Is it really the end of the world if somebody else doesn't want to see you rest? So
Yeah.
either she'll be inspired or she'll move on and she'll keep mumbling to herself in the corner. It's all
Yeah.
right. It's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. What does her opinion really do? You don't take it to bed at night. You
It's
know, it's
it's literally, yeah. Who you have to be in that place of who gives a shit. Like, how many shits do you have to give about every single person? As long as you're doing what you need to do, you will show up better for her. You,
yeah.
you'll be happier with her. You'll have a better relationship with her the more rested you are. I'm not saying you need to sit and laze around in bed all day. I'm not saying that, but knowing what your body needs, you need to tune into it and say, what do I truly need today? Is it a rest day? Is it a go day? Is it a productive day? Is it a slow down and let me just breathe through this moment and allowing yourself that? So, number one, healing your relationship with rest, really, really
Mm.
important. Number two, my second tip is understanding your monthly cycle and
Mm.
understanding what phase you're in. This is something I do with my clients because you'll feel emotionally different around it. And it doesn't mean to say that you will be less productive. It's just that productivity will look different. You'll
Mm.
have weeks where you need more, you can do more, you can give more, you can serve more. Other days and other weeks, you'll be focused on nourishing yourself. It will be about recharging. It will be about reflecting. It's very, very important to know that, because what will happen is the days that you're not feeling like you can give more, you will end up shaming yourself. Why can't I do this? What's wrong with me? Why am I not as productive as I was last week? It's normal. It's very
Yeah.
normal.
Yeah.
And the third thing I would say is letting go of perfection and allowing other people to see your humanness. Are you that woman that burns herself out to make sure her house is extremely clean to like crazy standards when people come over so that they don't judge you? I want
Mm.
you to start, we collectively need to do this thing where people are allowed to see your humanness. So what if you bought those store-bought cookies and brought it to that and saying, oh, do you know what? I couldn't, but this is what I was able to do, and doing it happily. When people come over and say, can I do the dishes? Well, yeah, thank you so much. That would be really, really helpful, actually. Letting people help you, letting go of that crazy high standard that you have for yourself, and allowing yourself to be a human, not a machine. So those are the three things I would definitely say.
That's wonderful. I think that encapsulates it really nicely because one thing I would say is a lot of women, they set up this cycle for themselves and don't realize they've done it. And then they decide 15, 20 years later, I want to switch things up. And
Mm.
those 3 points that you gave can help ease not only her, whoever's doing this particular, challenge, if you like, but everybody else can slowly start molding to you as well. So I like what you said, that it's not about sitting around lazing every day in bed. But if you were someone that for 15 years, you just were straight on it, just serving everyone, getting everyone's bits and bobs together, even grown adults in the house, you're treating them like children. So
Mm,
you can feel satisfied that you've served and you can carry this banner around and show everyone, look how what a good woman I am.
mm,
When you start breaking that down and you say, okay, right, it's not about lazing in bed, like you said, but I'm going to take 1 day a week and I'm going to start communicating that to people that that's my day.
You got to dip your toes in it. And you've mentioned the woman who's been doing this for 15 years. And if a lot of the women that you're working with or are like in your audience, if they have been that woman who's been doing this for God knows how many years, then I'll add an extra point to this. Expect people to be pissed off when you start taking rest.
Thank you. I needed someone to say it.
Imagine if you've been, all right, so Fatima, imagine if I've been given to you for the past 20 years. That's what you've been expecting now. Now,
Yeah, I'm used to
but
you doing certain
you're
things.
human. You're not a bad person. That's what that's the standard I've created. Like, baby girl, I'm gonna keep giving to you like this for 15
I'm
years.
like this, receive, receive, receive.
Baby, give me. So then the moment I say now, okay, I need to start honoring myself. You're not going to be used to that. You're not going that shift. You're going to be like, hold on, what's going on here? I'm not getting what I used to get. I'm not getting what the normal dosage I used to get. So it's like it's like withdrawal symptoms. You're gonna have a bit of a fit. Oh, why do you need to rest for? You don't need that. You're going to be triggered. You're gonna be mad, but you need to ride out that discomfort for a good enough amount of time. And you need to do another thing as well. You need to show people that the rest you're having is going to enhance every single person around you. So if I take rest, I feel guilty about it. Am I going to be very pleasant with my husband? I'm going to be like, I'm going to feel bad about it. He's not going to feel very happy about it either. Take that rest. And this is where the badass confidence comes in. It's like, I'm gonna allow you to have your moods, your moment, because I understand it. I've been giving, so let you have your moment. I'm not going to feel guilty about it. I'm gonna take this rest in smaller doses, so dosages. Like if you're that woman who's never taken rest, I'm not saying like now you have to take a whole week and take a spa vacation. Dip your
Mm.
toes in it. Come on, let's be sensible.
Yeah, let's be realistic. Yeah.
Let's be sensible. If you want to do that, go do it. I'm not who like sue you. Who cares? But do you know what? Do what you need to do and feel good about it. And the more the people around you will start to realize, actually, she's more pleasant. We like her more. She's actually nicer to be around. Oh, your husband, uncle is going to be like, "Oh, I fancy her. Okay, like I
Yeah, what happened
fancy her.
there? Like,
What?
it's back.
She's actually kind of hot. I like who she is. She's nice to be around. Then he will start celebrating. He will start celebrating you resting. It sounds logical. I'm telling you, it's hard.
Oh, yeah.
I've helped women do this again and again and again. I'm telling you, the emotions that come up for it. I know I'm saying it like it's just the most logical thing ever. The reason why I'm doing that is because I've seen the process. I've coached women through it. I understand what it takes to get from A to B. But expect the emotions to come up.
Mm.
Expect the discomfort. Expect the emotions to come from other people as well. But in the end, you all win, and it's fantastic. It's so beautiful.
Yeah, that's one thing I just adore about your content is that we've forgotten that women are the nucleus of the cell of our family. It's not the man, honey. The man is the ring around the cell.
Yeah,
We are the brain inside.
so
And
true.
yeah, and we've been constantly taught that, if the nucleus comes out of that center and starts bashing around everywhere,
Yeah.
the wall becomes destabilized. All the other atoms involved are like, this is like chaos energy. So knowing who you are, knowing that you are the central part of they always, it's funny because when you have like grandmothers or great grandmothers that pass away, you quite commonly hear like she was the glue of the family.
Yeah, yeah, no.
right? Why was she? Nobody says that to a grandfather or a dad. Like he held up. No, he's not the glue. You are the glue. And when you understand that in order for you to have that level of adhesion and keep everybody within the walls of that particular cell, the vibration you're giving off controls everything. And no matter how much you've been told culturally, or it's been drilled into your head about the male control, men are actually craving for you to be in control of yourself. They're begging for it. Like, please, can you just be in your divine feminine so I can be masculine?
Yeah, yeah, it's crazy. I think we've collectively forgotten the power that we have. And yeah, we know that men have they're the head of the family, they're the leaders, they're the protectors, but and this is and the reason why is we live in a very masculine world. We are
Mm,
focused on doing, we're focused on doing more, achieving more. That because the focus is so much on the masculine energy, things to do, things to achieve, we forget and we've forgotten to nurture that feminine side of ourselves, which is all of it's basically the radiance and the warmth that you bring. You forget about that. You forget to nurture that side, and it's what keeps families together. It's what brings the, that warmth, that coziness, that feeling of peace into the home. And do you know how it's a gift? Do you know how much men crave that? They can't even say it. It's not a logical thing. It's not like where they can say, "Oh, this is what I need." They crave it deep down, and I feel like more and more men are noticing now that that's actually what we need. And before, back in the days, relationships were there for survival. We needed to put food on the table. You had people working in the fields. They had to do what they needed to do to survive. And now that most of us, who are people who are listening to this, you have your basic needs met, you have food on the table, you have a roof over your head, the focus needs to go back to just getting out of survival mode and bringing that warmth and radiance back into your homes again, because it will make the whole family move forward more productively when you have that balance of doing and that warmth and radiance and comfort in the home as well.
absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree. And then on the opposing side of it, when you are what we call doormat vibes,
Mm,
people forget that we use these words, right? But we need to visualize it. A literal doormat that is sitting outside of your house gets zero acknowledgement,
mm,
but picks up all the dirt, right? So actually, our homes would be a freaking mess if we didn't have that doormat.
yeah.
But the doormat itself has no voice. The doormat itself has no particular communication that it's having with me. It just carries on collecting the dirt. And it's
Mm,
probably yammering to itself in the background. I freaking hate them that they step on me and they do this and they do that. But we can't hear it because
yeah.
you're still serving the purpose of that. Now, when you literally visualize laying down in front of your front door and your husband and your children are stepping on you and wiping their dirty shoes on you before you go in, and you're just doing that like this, and then wondering one day why you hate everyone in that house.
And why you're not getting the appreciation that you deeply.
Yeah, because is your husband really going to think about, because people forget human nature. When we see something weak,
Mm.
we don't have respect for it. We feel pity for it.
And it's not even necessarily that you're like, this is what I try to get through to people as well. It's not people are, oh, that's so evil. If he loved me and if he respected me, I'm like, but you need to also understand that everyone is human. So you will attract what you are. And I tend to not look at people as good and bad. I'm like, it is what it is. You are what you are is what you'll attract. And you either hate it and say, oh, but he should love and respect me, or just get with the game. Get with the rules of the game, man.
Yeah, facts. Because if you are a giver, naturally a receiver is gonna be like, love that energy. Like, come
Mm,
on, let's go. I'm a taker. You're a giver.
yeah.
So this works.
Or even
And
if they're not a taker, they'll look at you and be like, oh, actually, hold on.
oh, I can take.
Oh,
Yeah.
I can take freebies.
Yeah. So we have so much more control about how people perceive us and behave around us than we've ever been given any knowledge about.
Yeah.
And another thing I would like to add to this is, ladies, if you're watching this, please stop putting your female thought process inside your husband's.
Oh my God.
What are you doing? Yeah,
Yeah.
he's a completely, they men have been manufactured in a very different way to us, but we take our emotions, like what you just said there. If he loved me, he wouldn't.
I feel like that's the dumbest thing. It's like one of the advice. There's a couple of advice. It's very rare for me to say I hate. There's a couple of advice I hate, but if that's some of them, like some of them is communication is key. Oh, like, all right, cool.
Yeah. How? How do we even do that?
I'm lost for words. Be yourself. Okay, but what if yourself is like riddled with anxiety and
Yeah, yeah.
stuff like that? Don't be
What
yourself.
if yourself is a doormat?
Okay, but don't be yourself. How about we refine that? And the other one is you'll know if he loves you. No, like, because just
Yeah, terrible, terrible. Setting us up for failure right there.
I hate. It's rarely that I'd say I hate that advice. But I'm like, it's so stupid. It's such dumb advice because let's just stop there
Yeah,
because
yeah, they don't make sense. Yeah, they do not
I haven't
make
had
sense.
enough breakfast yet to be able to be nice today.
Well, that's what I point out this thing a lot, especially with Muslim women. When you take Western ideas and concepts and try to implement them in your Muslim home, you are inevitably going to come up against so much contradiction and friction because our deen promotes balance, our deen promotes justice and self-respect. Now, when you say, I'm just going to be myself, but you have not assessed what that myself is, because let's face it, we all think we're great. Like,
We're meant to think we're great.
right. Well, I'm such a nice person. I give and I do this and I show up and da da da. But actually, if someone was to put a camera on you and follow you around for the day, all your little facial expressions, your irritations, your little movements, all those things will be revealed to you, and you will quickly start realizing you are not like you thought, this angel Gabriel's sister.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's wild. I think it's the like you said as well, just going back one thing on that whole doormat, that it's like the balance. Yes, like when I sometimes speak about confidence, I do get a couple of people, maybe the ones that haven't been in my audience for long, or people who have just stumbled across my content for the same time, like for the first time. They don't always like it, especially like a
oh,
certain demographic of Muslim, the men. Oh, a
oh,
lot of
don't even, yeah.
but they'll be like, oh, you know what? You should be talking about how women like need to be humble and like this and like that. I'm like, yeah, fine, I get that, but there's a difference. There's a difference between being humble and being full of shame and low self-esteem. And there's a difference between confident and being really arrogant. And
Mm,
I think what where we need to understand is the difference between like the confidence we have as Muslims is that we're not feeling like we're better than anyone else. We know that our skills are from Allah. We understand why we need to nurture these skills. Like I said, to serve others. And do you unlike when you start to realize that it's the women that don't have confidence, that don't have the self-esteem, that actually do more damage to their families
yes.
because you're creating these cycles of people can take advantage of you, then you feel resentful, then your marriage breaks apart, or you're staying in your marriage but it's literally broken because of how much resentment. And you can't keep that there. It will come up in your interactions, and like you mentioned, the body language, the little things that go unsaid, your facial reactions, how triggered you get. So this is why, again, it comes back to your confidence. It comes back to nurturing those skills that you have and holding them like high up there, saying, this is what I've got, this is what I have, this is what Allah's given me, this is what I'm going to pour into my family. I'm so happy about that, rather than, again, given from that place of resentment, because it'll show up. It'll show
And
up.
let's just add another little thing to your example just there. Your children are watching you. Your girls are watching how you operate. Your boys are watching how you operate and he operates. And the normalization of relationship environment is something you're creating by not investing in yourself, by not having that time and space to understand yourself. And I know in our cultures where it's not promoted, we're told to get on with our duty and die quietly. Now, to break through that is probably one of the reasons, why I was never expecting my social media to kick off like this. But then I realized it did because most people are letting themselves down in this regard. And the things are falling apart in front of them. And they're like, well, why did this happen? And you have to go all the way back to yourself. So the longer you leave the self alone, the worse this journey is going to be. And then you're going to turn, like we said earlier, back into a malicious cycle. And you are actually affecting generations, ladies, by not investing in yourself. This is a big, huge deal. This is
Mm.
the ummah is relying on our women to be in the best alignment for everything else to fall in place. Because men are out there doing their thing. We're creating mindsets. We're creating confident levels of confidence, self-esteem. We're creating the next generation of the ummah that are going to go forward and inshallah try and prevent the level of oppression that's happening to Muslims in this world. If they are not confident, if you are not, they cannot learn it and we are not going any further. And personally, that's not good enough for me.
Yeah, and and forget the men for a second, because yes, they've got their work to do, but we could actually be disempowering our men. We're teaching them to be takers.
Woo, preach.
Like, I don't want that anymore.
Yeah,
I just don't want it. We've seen it.
facts.
And we can blame them. We can say, oh, but if they weren't like this, and if he wasn't, and if his mum, and but you can't change that. Can you change that? We can sit and talk about it and hold hands and like pat each other's backs and rub it and say, oh my God, poor you. I know it's so hard. But then what? We're gonna
Yeah.
get to the same place of saying, okay, what next? So we can either spend the next 5 to 10 years pity parties, stroking each other's backs, and sometimes, yeah, you know what? You need it. You need a moment. I will need a moment where, my friend will be like, oh, you know what? And then, do you know what? Snap back. Come on, come back.
Yeah. You've had your moment now. Get
Let's
up.
need
Yeah.
a moment. Allow yourself a moment. Let those emotions run wild. Stop trying to control those emotions. Express it, and then bounce back with a mission. Bounce back with a mission, because are you really going to spend the next 5 to 10 years moaning about all the things that you can't control? Or I'll save you some time. I'll save you some time and say, right, look, you should be paying me for this. I'm
Yeah,
saving you
yeah.
5 years. All it is understanding that what you can control is the only thing that you need to work on. That's it. That's literally it. I'm saving you 5 to 10 years of your life. And
Yeah.
at least then, because you've got the weight of responsibility or the weight of resentment. Both things are heavy. Taking responsibility for life is not easy. It comes with weight. It's heavy. Responsibility is heavy. But you've also got the weight of resentment. And you know what? That's heavier. Shall I tell you why it's heavier? Because when you're resenting people, you're stuck. You feel stuck, you feel trapped. But at least with the weight of responsibility, you're carrying a weight, but you're moving forward. And that weight becomes lighter and lighter and lighter, and everyone benefits.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love what you said that we are enabling men to become takers. We really are. And may that be from a mother's point of view or an auntie's point of view, a sister's point of view, a wife's point of view, and I keep trying to hone it into women and tell them, like, you do realize you are the powerhouse,
Yeah.
and when we raise our sons or treat our husbands in a certain way and allow our sons to see it,
Yeah.
we perpetuate the same thing that we just hated. And
Mm.
it fascinates me the lack of knowledge that women have about their own power.
Yeah. And when I say that men are takers, I just want to put a point out there. It's not because I feel like men are evil. It's
Mm.
not because men are so like malicious and they're sitting there rubbing their hands and think, how am I going to take advantage of this?
Yeah.
How am I going to take advantage of this girl? It's not like that. No, they're not. Like, alhamdulillah, I've been surrounded by amazing men. My husband, amazing. My father,
Alhamdulillah,
so
Allahumma barik.
sweet. Like everyone has their sides to them, but they really are those. They've set such good examples of taking care of the women around them, and I'm so grateful for that. Alhamdulillah. So it's not that I feel like they're evil. It's just like again, it's humanness. It
Mm,
if you're if you think about a man in general, right? They are wired for survival. They need to be wired for survival. They need to survive, they need to protect, they need to look after people, they need to survive. So whilst they're wired for survival, they also look at where they can take advantage of things. They need to do that. So if you're a woman that says, I've got all this to give, a man's not, with time, he'll be like, okay, cool, she's got all of this to give. That's everything I'm going to take. It's the survival thing, is like, I'm going to take. So this is where a woman's boundaries, and a woman having boundaries is not about being disobedient, saying, no, 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 I'm not going to do this. And it's not about that. It's simply about communicating what you're available for. It's simple things. Even like if I had a client who messaged me yesterday, and it was a very, very simple message. And she said to me, my husband, he's on a weight loss journey. And what he wants me to do is weigh out all of his food in the kitchen and sort it all out for him. And he's
mm.
upstairs in the bedroom and he's sitting on his phone. And I've got the kids to look after. I've got this. I've got the cooking. I've got the cleaning. I'm assuming she's got loads of things. Like if anyone's in the kitchen, you know that adding one extra thing, it sounds simple, but sometimes, it just adds to the whole chaos. And especially if you've got a person upstairs in the room sitting on his phone. But if you're like, yeah, 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 I'll do it for the sake of Allah. I'm gonna be that woman that makes my husband happy. You can do that. That's fine. It's great if you want to do it, if you can do it. But where has the basic communication come in where you're saying to him, it's still kind, it's still sweet, it's still soft to say, I'd love to do that for you, but I do have all of these things going on. Can you help me with it so I can serve you? I'd love to do that. It's still telling people, again, having that mindset of serving. Yeah, of course, I'd love to support you on that weight loss journey. So letting him into your world. So at this moment in time, I find that the kitchen gets really stressful. How can we help each other so I can get this done for you? That is almost, you're not even saying, no, I can't do that. I refuse to become tired. Setting your boundaries can still simply be letting people into your world and showing them what you're about and what you're not about. Showing them
Yeah,
that you're not about becoming overwhelmed and doing tasks while they're sitting on their phone doing nothing.
yeah. Because that's
Basically,
inevitably going to build some resentment.
yeah, and you can
Yeah,
mask it with, I'm doing it because I want to be a pleasable wife. I'm doing it for the sake of Allah. But deep down, when you see him chilling on his phone every single evening while you're working your ass off, weighing his food out, doing this, adding an extra task on, I'm doing this to protect you from feeling resentful, not to protect you from from the feelings that will come up that will not be very helpful for your family. Letting him in, telling him, hey, I may not be able to do this, but I can do this for you instead. These are also setting your boundaries, knowing what you're available for, letting him into your world, letting him understand that you're a woman with needs and you're not that person who wants to live in that overwhelmed state all the time as well.
absolutely. And this covers the point I wanted to ask you about balancing masculine and feminine energy, because we had this conversation. Both men and women obtain both of these dynamics. And again, we come back to balance. Again, we come back to what our deen promotes.
Okay.
It's our jobs to come into balance. Now, sticking to the female perspective, because, we're
Okay.
females,
Yeah.
the examples you just gave there is a balancing of that energy,
Mm.
because you're being strategic about what you can actually do, but at the same time, your feminine energy is asking for that support and help. So,
So
yeah, please tell
yeah,
us a little bit more about that.
I love this topic. I could
Yeah, yeah.
because I could go on like all day about this topic because it means so much to me. And I yeah, okay, fine. I won't talk about it from the husband and wife perspective just now because I know many of our viewers are females and it's important to talk about what they can go and implement right away. The first thing is to be a soft, feminine energy woman, to flow, to receive support, to have a life of enjoyment and ease. You want all of that, right? Everyone wants that. You need masculine energy. You need masculine
That's
energy.
right.
You cannot, and it stresses me out. I shouldn't get stressed about this, but it does stress me out when a lot of people have this misinformation, misunderstanding that being soft is like being this airy fairy like princess that doesn't have any strategy for her life. So think about I'll give you a simple example of taking some time out to have a cup of tea in a busy day. Because a lot of us can relate to this. Your masculine energy is looking at the time and thinking, I have 30 minutes. Your masculine and time, understanding timing, structure is masculine energy. Okay.
Yeah.
I have 30 minutes and I'm going to take that 30 minutes and I'm going to relax. I'm going to switch off. I'm going to be present in this moment and I'm going to enjoy this cup of tea and not
Mm.
think about anything and just be present with myself.
I
Feel
mean, right now I'm planning what I'm going to do in that 30 minutes now.
I'm going to feel the heat of the cup and I'm going to enjoy every single sip.
Mm.
That is just
Maybe whack a candle on, like a bit
put
of
a
that.
candle on. I'm going to sit back and I'm just going to read that book.
Yeah.
Now, if I hadn't taken out that 30 minutes, and then once that 30 minutes is over, okay, cool. Now I can carry on doing what I need to do. Sit and do the kids' homework, do what I need to do. Timing is key.
Mm.
Systems, you need systems in your life. You need structure in your life. You need routines. How are you going to be a soft girl if you don't have systems? You need systems that you create. Am I meal prepping on certain days so I'm not overwhelmed every evening? How are you going to
Ah,
be
yeah.
joyful? How are you going to be joyful if you're pulling your hair out every evening? Have systems, hire support, tell people what you can and can't do, know what you can and can't do.
Mm.
Okay. Now, I'll give you a bigger example, like more of a long-term thing. You want to live a soft girl life where you're holidaying every month and you're visiting different cities, brunching on the weekend, but you don't have a vision to be able to fund that.
Right.
Yeah, like long term, you're like, okay, cool. I want to live that. It's on my vision board. Like, baby, I put that on, just glue and stick it on my vision board. How are you getting there? Do you have a vision? Do you have a goal? Do you have a plan? Have you and your husband sat down together and thought, right, okay, this is the plan we're going to put in action to be able to live that softer life? So, ladies, understand that your masculine energy, we're not going to overdo it. We're not going to abuse it. We're not going to burn out.
Mm-hmm.
Going to use it as our best friend. And this is what you call having a healed relationship with your masculine energy. So you can have a healed relationship with your feminine energy. And that's what I'm all about. So I'm not out here promoting like this soft girl life that's going to make you lazy and unfulfilled because it will be very cute for a week or two. But then a month down the line is going to catch up on you. You're going to be pulling your hair out, realizing that your whole life is a shambles because you don't have enough of healthy masculine energy in your life. This
Mm.
is what I would say is creating that balance with yourself first. And of course, we can talk about that at another time of how you create that balance of masculine, feminine energy in your home as well and with your husband, because there will be times where he will be leaning on you for support, and there will be other times where you will be leaning on him for support. And I will go into that. We can go into that another time, and I'll probably talk about it on my page as well a lot more because it's really important. I think there's a lot of misinformation there about it.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I think I would love to explore that with you because there's so many marriage dynamics that actually I think can be simply rectified. But because we just simply don't have the information and the tools, we're running around in the dark and damaging one another when actually we could be really focusing on nurturing one another. So let's make that a goal for next time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
that would be absolutely wonderful because I think balancing that energy and ensuring our home dynamics are healthy is something everybody wants to hear about.
And why do we want it? The reason why I talk about it so much, and the reason why, like, is, do you know when you say, this is the mountain I'm willing to die in, this is the work
Yeah,
I'm gonna do.
yeah.
I'm so passionate about it. It's probably like almost irritating how passionate I am about it. But I'd rather be passionate than not have any passion at all, right? So
Yeah,
the reason
agreed.
why is because you want, so I'll give you quick three examples. I know that we're running out of time here, but three examples. You can have the two people in their feminine energy. They get along, they're cutesy. It's like do you know that typical Instagram couple of they're really cute, they're really sweet, and everybody looks at it. The girls will look at it like, yeah, it's a relationship I want, they're so cute.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's really like romanticized and they become like besties. Deep down, is going to give you the ick. Suddenly, one day you're going to wake up and be like, this is so disgusting. I need him to get serious about life. I need a leader. I need a man I can respect. Because that dynamic is dangerous, where you're very cutesy, very fun, you're besties. Yes, you're going to have moments where you're vibing and chilling and you have that whole like besties kind of relationship, but it needs to go back to that place of he's very well respected in the house, you're very well taken care of. We need that for
Mm,
longevity and the health of the relationship. Then we have the two people who are in their masculine energy all the time. They're focused on doing, they're like a machine, they work very well. It could be two people working together, or it can be at certain stages of your own life where you have children and you're raising them and you're working hard. And there may be times in your life where you need to have both of you very heavily in your masculine energy to move forward. It's fine, it's needed, but you need to go back to that balance again, because what will happen is because both of you are always in your masculine energy, you'll start butting heads. That
mm,
there's no feeling of leadership, there's no feeling of, okay, we've got a person who's the one that, he's the one in charge, he's the one that's moving the family forward, and I'm supporting his mission, I'm there for his peace and comfort, because you won't have that. And when that's missing, then again it starts crumbling, you don't feel the peace. And then you got the last, it's okay, little one's coming in. Um
that's all right.
is you can come
Yeah.
in. That's my cue to thought. He's like, oh, I know mummy's in there. I need to
Yeah,
stay.
yeah.
And then you got the last one, which is the two people in their one in their masculine, one in their feminine. And that doesn't always mean that they're going to be in their masculine and feminine at all times. It will obviously switch over. But this relationship is beautiful. I love it because you have the spark, you have the attraction. You like him and he likes you. You actually feel like you're physically attracted to that person. When in that
Mm,
polarity, it's very difficult to actually like your husband. It's very hard for him to actually admire you, appreciate you. And the women that are very much in their masculine energy are usually, sadly, the ones that are doing the most. And they say, why doesn't he appreciate me? Why doesn't he love me? Why can't he see me? But when they start nurturing their feminine more, all the things that they do, he starts seeing it, he starts appreciating it. Why? Because he likes who you are, he fancies you, he likes you, there's that attraction there.
yeah.
So I think it's really, really important. The polarized relationship is just so enjoyable, it's so beautiful. And that's when you as an individual start achieving more as well. I find him on his mission, you'll see his thriving in his workplace, his mental health, his physical health, you can see it on him. And he's not just escaping life anymore, escaping his wife anymore. And then you've got the woman who feels so deeply fulfilled because she's living in a line with her fitra. You can see that she's adored, she's admired, she is being taken care of. And that's essentially what I want every single woman and every single couple to feel.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's wonderful. And me too. You just want people to be calm and peaceful in their environment. Assalamu alaikum, darling.
He's gonna have to be a part of this today. He's not gonna, I
No,
know he's
that's fine.
not gonna
We don't mind. We don't mind. We're family people here. Um, but no, that's been absolutely wonderful. And I would love to explore the polarized relationship dynamic with you a little bit more, maybe on another session,
absolutely
because when you're able to do that, you can be there for when your partner has bids for attention, and it allows for ebbs and flows, because sometimes he might not be in that place and you need to take a little bit of charge, but then you hand the baton back and vice versa.
Absolutely.
And that balance is just stunning. And that's what we end up seeing in the films and all that sort of stuff. And then we think, oh, it must be everywhere. No, you have to really work
It's,
on
yeah,
that. Yeah.
yeah. It's like people get confused with the honeymoon phase. It's not. It's actually way past that. It's where you have a deeper understanding of each other's flaws. There's a lot of acceptance, and people say that, oh, we shouldn't be told. There's a lot of tolerance as well. It's tolerating humanness from each other, and
Mm.
from that place, having deep acceptance, knowing who you are still, and then working towards having that mature love. It's not what you see in the movies, which is like the whole honeymoon, like overwhelmed with like love and infatuation. Oh, like yeah,
Yeah. And 25 years later, you're still overwhelmed with infatuation.
and
Like,
you're
please give
going
me a
to.
break.
It's a very mature love. It's like you fall into love again with a person you are actually able to fall out of love with. You're meant to fall out of love with somebody first because you're like, oh my God, what am I dealing with here? I've got
Mm.
to, and because the honeymoon phase is like where you're rose tinted glasses, you need to take off those glasses, look at who you got in front of you, and then fall back in love with each other again. It's wild, but it's
Yeah.
what we need.
Yeah. It's like anything else in life. You have to do the work. It doesn't just land in your lap. So thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. And hopefully, inshallah, we can go on to explore even more, deeper dynamics. Just to end, do you just want to let people know what your Instagram handle is, what your TikTok is, where they can get hold of you if they wanted to engage in your services?
Absolutely. So you can find me on Instagram. If you're putting this on YouTube, you can link it. It's Naeema Akhtar. I'll link it. I'll put the correct spelling. I'll send it over to you. But on TikTok, what is my TikTok name, man? I'm not. I think you're the queen of when it comes to TikToks.
Yeah, yeah. What
You
I'll
can
do is I'll
tag
put
me or
all your
something.
links. Yeah, I'll put all your links in the caption underneath.
Yeah, but the
And
best
then
to reach me is definitely my Instagram DMs. You can drop me a message, shoot me a message if you want to work with me, where mainly my focus for the past 2 years has been those polarized relationships that we won, bringing back that balance, helping the woman take charge of what she can take charge of. And I have an 8 week program which many women have gone through, and alhamdulillah, like the strategies in there, the mindset tools in there. It's a full program with so much that you can start applying right away. But hopefully, as well, in the future, we'll have things for the women who are not so focused on their marriage, but they're focused on themselves as individuals. Again,
inshallah.
it's not all like, again, this work doesn't have to start when you're in a marriage. It starts way before that. It starts about with your relationship with yourself. So there'll be more about that as well in the new year coming soon. So definitely follow me on Instagram, DM me, let us know what you're working on, and any questions, you can shoot them over there and I'll get back to you as soon as I can.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much, honey. You have a wonderful day, and I
Thank
really look forward to catching up with you soon.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for having me, and
Jazakallah.
Assalamualaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.